no one cared about the thing that I was most passionate about, and I wasn't using it. And so I had accumulated 4 weeks of vacation, and I decided to use it all in one 4-week period. I didn't know what I was going to do. I had no idea. And I was living in the suburbs of Chicago. I packed up my apartment. I moved everything back to Iowa, back to Monticello. Again, I had no idea what I was going to do. I just was going to look. I had 4 weeks to find something better. And within a couple days, I ended up on a phone call with Royal Caribbean Cruise Line. And my parents had been on some cruises, and they said, you know, there are piano players on cruise ships. So there was a connection with someone who worked in the office there at Royal Caribbean. She kind of put me in touch with the person who hires musicians. And I was on this phone call, and well, they didn't need anyone at this time, but thank you very much. So the phone call ended, and I was out helping I still remember I was out helping my parents on the farm, and phone call for me, and it was this guy from Royal Caribbean that I had just talked to earlier that day. And they had an emergency with a piano player on board, and they needed a fill-in for 2 weeks. Well, I hadn't sent in all my audition or my performance materials, but he said, do you have a piano nearby? And I said, yeah, I do. He said, I've never done this, but if you can set the piano down, and I'm going to have you play a couple styles, and then pick the phone back up, and we'll keep talking. So we did that. He said, okay, before you set the phone down, I want you to play something in a jazz style. So I sat down and played it, picked the phone back up. Okay, now play something in this style. So I put the phone back down and I played it. And he said, I'm not sure about you, but I'm in a pinch. And he said, can you be on an airplane tomorrow morning? And do you have this many suits? And do you, and yeah, I can do that. And so I was on an airplane, and this is pre 9/11, so I was booking it to get there, and kind of the last minute before they closed the gate, and I was off, and I joined the ship mid-cruise, and the piano player on board had a death in the family, and they needed to go home for 2 weeks. So I joined the ship when they were in the middle of a cruise. I joined them in St. Martin, and I remember landing at this tiny airport and getting on a van that was holding a sign with my name, that I needed to join the ship. And I didn't know where he was taking me, like dirt path, up the side of a hill. And I still remember in this van wondering, what the heck have I gotten myself into? And we climbed this hill, and pretty soon we got to the top of the hill, and there sat this cruise ship on this glistening water. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is like magic. It was like a movie. And because air traffic control is the most stressful job in the world. It's like, statistically, it's the most stressful job. I went from the most stressful job to the least stressful job. My job was sitting at the piano, taking requests, playing songs that resonate with people, songs that make people's eyes light up. And I knew during that first cruise that this was more me than that was. I didn't know how long this was going to last. I knew I was only there for 2 weeks. And by the way, that 2 weeks fit within my 4 weeks off. So I still had the option of going back there. But I remember on that cruise, we landed in Miami. And I called back to Chicago and I said, I don't know how long this is going to last, but I quit. Because this is more me than that is. And that 2-week fill-in turned into over 3 years. I was placed on the takeout team of their brand new ships. So I flew over to Finland where the ships were built, and did the inaugurals and the kind of the maiden voyages and the cross the Atlantic with these brand new ships, and then sailed on those until they had another new ship that they were building. And so I'd go over to Finland and do that. And it was just an amazing experience. And there, like teaching, I wasn't prepared for that. I didn't know all those songs. But you just, I think in life, have to jump in. You have to have faith that you're not going to drown. you're gonna swim. And I grew into that job, just like I grew into teaching. And it was that experience that turned into this career. Knowing that there's a collection of songs that everyone wants to hear. Everyone wants to hear their favorite song. Maybe this is a song that we had at our wedding. Maybe it's a song that my parents said this was their first dance. Maybe it was a song that we played for mom in hospice. Whatever it is, people love songs that resonate with them. And that was my job, was to play songs that would make a connection, their favorite songs. So over the course of those 3 years, I found that I'm playing the same songs night after night. So on a break from the cruise ship, I recorded a CD. I named it Requests, of kind of the top 10 most often requested songs on ships. And I took it back to ships to sell, so that when someone would come up to the piano and say, will you play the, Memory from Cats, or the theme from Titanic, or you name it. By the way, Titanic was very often requested on a cruise ship. I would play them their song, and I'd sell them a CD. And that was going well enough. Eventually, I moved back on land. I recorded a Christmas album almost immediately, and started giving concerts right after Thanksgiving. Kind of I think I moved off ships in November, and my first concert was right after Thanksgiving. And to this day, that has become a Christmas tour that we open the weekend after Thanksgiving. And what started in my hometown of Monticello as a benefit for the local food pantry, bring a canned good, when I came off ships, has turned into what has become a tradition for thousands of Iowa families, and it benefits a wonderful organization here in Iowa. And that all started from that experience on ships.